Hey everybody, it's Ann from Super Stitch. We're going to be working on the Kimberbell A Little Birdie Told Me pillow today. This is a class we did at for our sewing and embroidery club, so we thought we'd share it with you. So it's actually a great opportunity to teach you both sewing techniques and embroidery techniques. So we're going to be doing both. We're going to do the embroidery in the hoop embroidery, and then I'm also going to teach you some applique techniques and using some decorative stitching as well. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to Kimberbell at the link below and download all the files. The directions and the embroidery files in all formats are available from Kimberbell. So just click on the link below and we'll show you what we can do. And just as a reminder, we're still on our race to 10,000 subscribers. So we've got our contest going on. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, comment on any one of our videos, and click on the link to enter your email address so we can notify the winner. We will notify the winner of the great $2,500 sewing package that includes the Janome 5300 and some of our favorite notions. Let's go make it. First, I'm going to do the embroidery version, and these are the supplies that are listed in the PDF when you download the directions and the embroidery files. So we're going to need our background piece. I've already marked my center. I've added SF101 to the back of that, as well as 2 layers of SF101 to the back of my white fabric for the bubble. That really is going to do 2 things for the background. It's going to give it that nice stability. And when you have a white background here, it's really going to help to keep the color from showing through. So we use the SF101 quite a bit. So we have that on the background of our bubble fabric, and we also have it on the back of the main background of the pillow. And I also have hooped it with a piece of no-show mesh stabilizer. So I've got my center marking and I've centered it in my hoop with the SF101 and my stabilizer. I'm ready to start embroidering. So I've loaded the design, downloaded from Kimberbell, and this is the whole design. I'm going to select the parts. So the first thing it's going to do is the little beak and the legs. So I'm ready to just hit start, and we'll start the embroidery. The next step is going to do the outline placement for the body of the bird. Now the Kimberbell directions actually called for using their new leather fabric, but we didn't get that in yet, so we thought we would use the Kimberbell glitter fabric. So when you're using their glitter, you're going to remove the clear topping, and then we're going to go ahead and just place this right over our placement line. I'm going to bring my hoop forward so I can just take some of my Kimberbell tape and tape that in place. We love the Kimberbell tape. Now I can just put the machine back, and we're going to now sew the tack down stitch. Now this is going to do a raw edge applique, so you'd want to use either the leather or the glitter, because there's not going to be a separate satin stitch or anything covering the raw edge. So I'm going to once again use my hoop forward feature. I'm going to remove the tape. And what you want to do when you're doing raw edge applique is just trim about 1/8 of an inch away from the stitching line. So you're not trimming right up to the stitching line like you do in our other machine applique that's going to have the raw edge covered. So I'm just trimming about 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edges. If we trim too close, it could come out, but your fabric isn't going to fray if you're using the glitter vinyl or the leather. And the glitter vinyl, actually, when we're done here, we're going to use a press cloth and we're going to press it down. So it's not going to go anywhere either. Now we're going to do a tack down for the placement of the wing. So once again, I'm going to peel off the plastic covering, and I'm going to tape down the wing over top the placement line. We could have used a little bit more of a contrasting stitch. Sometimes when you're doing raw applique, you might want to use something that contrasts more so you can actually see the stitch there. And again, we're going to remove the tape. This is a pretty small shape. I'm going to use my little scissors here, and again, just trim just about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. The glitter vinyl comes in quite a few colors. We really like this blue for our little birdie. And the next step is going to do a little decorative stitch for the tail. We're stitching the eye in place now. And there's our little birdie. Isn't he cute? We're now going to do a placement line for the bubble. I'm now placing my fabric over top of the placement line. And again, I'm going to hold it in place with some Kimberbell tape. And this is if you had pre-cut the shape, you could skip the next tack down stitch. We're going to trim this one in the hoop, and we're going to use our pre-cut shape for our sewing version. So we're now doing a tack down line for the bubble shape. Okay. Now in this case, I'm going to trim right up to my stitching because this is going to get trimmed, or this edge is going to get covered with a satin stitch. So while I'm trimming, I'm laying the blade of my scissors right on flat and trimming right up to the stitch line. So now we've trimmed that. The hoop forward function on the Janome allows me to keep the hoop on the machine. I don't have to take it completely off the machine to do my trimming in the hoop. I'm going to put it back in place now, and now it's just going to do my little decorative stitch onto the bubble. And the next step is going to do a placement line to place your heart fabric. Now it's stitching the tack down for the heart. Again, if you had pre-cut the heart, you would have just placed it and you could have skipped the tack down stitch. So once again, I'm going to do a hoop forward and I'm going to trim right up to the stitch line. So now that we've trimmed both shapes here, we're ready to start doing the satin stitching, and this is going to cover all our raw edges. You might notice too, you want to take note on the Kimberbell instructions. They'll have a little thread symbol that tells you when it's time to make a thread color change. So you want to read all their instructions. They're very well written, and they've got steps, machine steps, and color changes. All the information is there. So if you have any questions, you can always contact us, but just follow the instructions and follow the video, and it goes together quite well. So we have another thread change, and it's just going to do a nice little top stitch on top of the satin stitch. And now we're going to do the satin stitching over the raw edge of the heart. And our very last step is going to put a nice little top stitch on top of the red satin stitch. So now we're all completed our in the hoop embroidery. It's time to take it out, trim it up, give it a little press, and complete the pillow. It's now time, we need to trim this to an 8.5 inch square. Kimberbell does have these orange pop rulers that you can trim to different sizes of squares. I actually just have my 8.5 inch Quilter's Select ruler, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that. I've centered that on my embroidered block, and I can just turn that. The Quilter square ruler will not move, and I can just get it all trimmed away. So I have my 8.5 inch block. I'm going to give this a little bit of a press. That's going to get rid of my friction pen markings. And I'm just going to put a piece of fabric over top of my little birdie. We used our glitter fabric, and that's going to now fuse in place. You want to make sure that you do use a press cloth. You don't want to press directly on top of the glitter. So now it's time to finish our pillow. The directions give you the sizes of your strips that you're going to cut. So I'm going to take my two 8.5 inch strips, and we're going to 1/4 inch seam those to the sides. So I'm now going to switch my machine to a sewing machine and put on my 1/4 inch foot to start my piecing. I've selected my 1/4 inch piecing stitch. I've got my 1/4 inch foot on, and I'm ready to just attach my borders. So after we've 1/4 inch seamed those to the sides, we're going to press those out. Now the sewing version and embroidery version are both finished the same way. And now the tops and bottoms are going to get stitched across. And we're going to take the 2 back pieces and we're just going to turn that under a little bit and double it under and just run a little top stitch there. So you're going to overlap the 2 back pieces. They'll be overlapped here. You're going to have right sides together, and we're going to 1/4 inch seam all the way around. Now on my needle plate, I know when I'm a 1/4 inch away because the edge of this fabric will be at this 1/4 inch mark here and a 1/4 inch on my foot. So I'll know that that's when I want to pivot. And now I'm ready to do my 1/4 inch. So we stitched all the way around. We're going to trim off our corners and turn it through. I'm going to use my stylus to pop out the corners. Going to give it a little press. And now to create the flange, I'm going to do a stitch in the ditch all the way around in here. So I'm going to use my ditch foot. You could leave it like this if you wanted it to just make it into a wall hanging, or if you wanted a bigger pillow. But with we're going to have the pillow in here, an 8-inch pillow, and that's going to create the flange. The ditch foot has a blade that I'm going to place right into here, and that's going to drop that stitch right there for me. With the pillow inserted, now it creates that little flange there for you. So this is our completed embroidery version. So watch our sewing version. So if you don't have an embroidery machine, or just to pick up some applique techniques, if you have a shape or design that you would like to machine applique, you're going to pick up some applique techniques in our sewing version video. And you can find a link to the sewing video in the description. And when you click on the link below to go to Kimberbell to download all the files for the Little Birdie pillow, be sure to read all about the Love Notes mystery quilt coming up in August. And you can order from us the Love Notes mystery quilt kit, the fabrics, everything that goes along with it. So click on the links below for all the information. Thanks for watching, and we hope you learned some new techniques both for your machine embroidery, and hope you learned some new applique techniques, and hope you're now looking at your decorative stitches in a whole new way. And you see that little bell next to the subscribe button? If you click on that, then you'll be notified every time we post a new video. So we're going to be making more and more videos, and we welcome your suggestions. And be sure to subscribe and have more fun than you should have with a sewing machine.